The Olympic Games are right around the corner. With that being said, let's see who's entered this year's men's Olympic Games. What's up, everybody? It's John Eric Poli, and just so you guys know, a few key dates to keep an eye out here as we get closer to the Olympics. The Olympics are going to get started this year on July 27th, and they are going to run through August 4th. They have all those key dates up there on your screen. The big one, though, here, July 27th is when this year's Olympic Games will get started. All right, now with that being said, who's entered into this year's Olympic Games? In this video, of course, we're featuring the men's entry list. Let's get started with the guy that's probably the favorite, the guy that's been competing at such a high level, Carlos Alcaraz, winner of this year's French Open and Wimbledon. He, of course, is entered representing Team Spain. Joining him on Team Spain, of course, is Rafael Nadal, the most probably famous Spaniard tennis player of all time, winner of the 2008 singles Olympic gold medal. He also won a gold in doubles in 2016, 22-time major champion, the best clay court player to ever step foot on a clay court in tennis history. He's going to be a guy to keep an eye out on in this year's Olympic Games. All right, now, outside of those two, another kind of take the headlines here a little bit, representing Spain, the success of Alcaraz, the dominant clay court playing of Rafael Nadal throughout his career, but a lot of other big names here. I'm going to start listing right through those guys right now. Let's get started with Italy and Jannik Sinner. Joining Sinner, of course, is going to be Lorenzo Musetti, who just had a good Wimbledon tournament, but Sinner definitely going to be a guy to keep an eye on in this year's Olympic Games. He played very well on the clay courts. This year, he made the semifinals at the French Open, going 5 sets with Carlos Alcaraz. Keep an eye on the Italian Jannik Sinner. Representing Serbia, Novak Djokovic. Fun Novak Djokovic fact: never won an Olympic gold medal. He was a bronze medalist back in 2008. Let's see if he could chase down his first ever Olympic gold medal. I know he's not having the best 2024, but still pretty good storyline to keep an eye out here as we get closer to the Olympics. Representing Germany is going to be Alexander Zverev, very good clay court player, just lost to Alcaraz in 5 sets at this year's French Open final. And Zverev knows what it takes to get it done in the Olympics. He's the gold medalist in 2020, so he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on in this year's tournament. Representing Greece, Stefanos Tsitsipas, a guy that's made a French Open final before, a guy that had a pretty good clay court showing in this year's clay season. He won the Monte Carlo tournament at the start of this year's clay season. So let's see if Tsitsipas can get an Olympic medal. Representing Denmark is going to be Holger Rune. Holger Rune, a guy that's very good on the clay courts. He's, like I said, representing Denmark. He's absolutely a guy to keep an eye out as a sleeper in this year's Olympics. Also a guy to keep an eye out on will be representing Norway, Casper Ruud, Norway's only entry in tennis. For Ruud, he made 2 French Open finals. He made a very far run in this year's French Open, making it to the semis. So a guy that knows what it takes to get the job done on those clay courts. Let's see if Ruud can make some noise in this year's Olympics. A neutral entry is Daniil Medvedev. That's because Medvedev usually would represent Russia. Russia not having entries as a country. They are listed as neutral athletes in this year's Olympic Games, but Medvedev has indeed entered this year's Olympic Games. Now I want to talk about the guys that were representing the country that I'm in, the United States of America. This year on the men's side of things, there are 4 entries for the United States. The 4 Americans representing us are going to be Taylor Fritz, Tommy Paul, Christopher Eubanks, and Marcus Girton. Big name out there, of course. Missing is Frances Tiafoe, not entered into this year's Olympics. But we'll see if one of these Americans can make a run at an Olympic medal here in tennis. Not going to lie, uphill battle for all of those guys, but we'll see how the tournament all plays itself out. It's going to be a fun Olympic Games in Paris. Can't wait for the 2024 Summer Olympics.